This program is presented by University of California Television. Like what you learn? Visit our website or follow us on Facebook and Twitter to keep up with the latest UCTV programs. Also, make sure to check out and subscribe to our YouTube original channel, UCTV Prime, available only on YouTube.
So we have Sarah Penna here today with us. Sarah is the head of talent management at Bigframe. Has anyone used the YouTube? Great. You guys will be familiar with what she's up to then. I do try to bring in entrepreneurs from all areas of technology, nonprofits, and I'm especially excited to have Sarah come in here because TV is changing, guys. You're of that generation where you're sort of bridging the old and the new. My son's 13, doesn't watch very much TV at all, watches pretty much everything online. So it's great to have someone who's literally on the forefront of that huge, huge shift that's happening right now. So Sarah began her career working in reality TV. She created TV shows that were aired on Discovery, HBO, Oxygen, Bravo, a lot of different cable networks. She then moved over to Current TV, where she managed hundreds of producers and helped orchestrate the airing of over 100 documentaries. Again, in the cable world. She was promoted, then she left and went to become the director of distribution and business development at a content creation studio that focused on scripted web series. So that was her move into the internet, from cable, traditional television, to internet TV. When she co-founded Bigframe, she was able to leverage both her brand management experiences as well as her production experiences, having actually created content. So Bigframe's an interesting company. They're a media company because they do create original content that's aired on YouTube and other networks. But they're also a talent agency or a talent management firm. So they bring those two core skills together. Sarah has overseen the careers of a number of YouTube stars. And in fact, one of them is in the room with us today. It's not me. I know you guys all assume it's me. I have about 330 views on YouTube. This gentleman has well over 332 million views on YouTube. Mystery Guitar Man. He is here, and also other notable acts that Sarah's been involved with are Daystorm Power. He's had well over 180 million views, and his career is on the rise as well. Bigframe is part of what's called YouTube's channel initiative. So about a year and a half ago, YouTube set aside a couple $100 million, and they said, we're going to change the face of YouTube. It's not just going to be user-created dogs on skateboards and sort of those fun but silly, difficult to monetize videos. We're actually going to put some money out there and give it to smart folks like Sarah and her team and help them and encourage them to create professional content to help move people from, sort of assuming that YouTube is this frivolous, trivial 2-minute video world into, high quality, high production value videos. Sarah is a speaker in demand. She has spoken at Tube Filter, Slam Dance, as well as Digital LA. And she's also an industry expert. She's been cited by Forbes magazine, Wired, Tube Filter, as well as New TV. She came up here from LA, spent a good hour with a handful of students before this talk. And I'm just telling you guys, it's hard to appreciate it when you're a student and you get a little bit more free time in your schedule. But to take a full day out of your schedule when you're running a startup that's going 900 miles a minute is not easy. It's a huge give, and it's really a give that we should appreciate. Let's show her our appreciation now.
lose my, is that okay, the audio? Okay. Thank you guys so much for having me. It's really an honor to be here to talk to you about my experiences starting a company, which have been wide-ranging from the highest highs to the lowest lows. So I just want to start out with some embarrassing photos so you guys get comfortable with me. When people would ask me when I was a little kid what I wanted to be when I grew up, I would tell them a waitress, much to my mother's chagrin. Because at the time I didn't know that what I really liked was serving people. I really liked helping people, and in my little 7-year-old mind, that meant being a waitress. So this is me in the kitchen cooking and serving food. It was that love of kind of serving people that led me on my long journey to starting a company in management. And also what I didn't really realize until I started a company is I actually come from a line of entrepreneurs. My mother and father started a little hardware company in Price, Utah. And they turned it into a very, very successful construction company. And I used to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning with my father and go to construction sites. And from that young, very impressionable age, I learned that I really learned about integrity from them, because while they aren't the biggest construction company in Utah and they've lost big jobs to other bigger companies, the one thing that they always emphasized to me was integrity. And because of that, they were able to secure jobs doing historical renovations, some of the most notable historical renovations in Utah. And I took that lesson of integrity and brought it with me as I started my company. Because while Bigframe is one of the biggest YouTube channel networks, we aren't the biggest, but when people start looking at the content that we're working on and we're creating, they say, wow, that content is really amazing, and that to me is my goal. And so I really treasure that lesson that my parents were able to bring to my career. Obviously money and notoriety and all of these things and keeping your company afloat, all of these things are very important, but the fundamental backbone of Bigframe is integrity, and that resonates throughout the people that I hire, the person I chose to co-found my company with, Steve, and also the kinds of content that we work and create. So let's just take a quick snapshot of the state of online video, just to give you kind of a broad overview of where we stand today. And this will be the only statistics slide I do, but I think it's important because it shows you kind of the massive scale and some of the hurdles that we face in online video, as well as some of the great benefits to working in online video. 800 million unique users visit YouTube every month. That is a huge number, and some of my clients who are now very successful YouTubers make up quite a number of those views. 72 hours of video are uploaded to YouTube every minute. I mean, every minute. That is almost unfathomable. And how you kind of break through that clutter when, that's a lot of content, obviously, and how you break through that clutter is one of the challenges that the online video space faces, and something that Bigframe looks to solve. So you'll hear this a lot in people talking about starting their own companies. What's the problem that we're trying to solve? One of the problems that Bigframe's trying to solve is discoverability, and I'll go into that a little bit later. 3 hours of every video is uploaded per minute to YouTube from mobile devices. This is an interesting stat because people are walking around just uploading from their mobile phones, and it's mobile views are becoming a more and more important component of our business. Last year, YouTube had more than 1 trillion views, or around 140 views for every person on Earth. This is a disruption in the way that we consume media. If that many people are, there's only so many hours in the day, and if, that much content is being viewed online, it's definitely taking away from TV, or, it's disrupting the way that we consume media. Ad revenues are growing. That's good for business. So you want the industry that you're in to trend upwards on the money side of things. In May 2010, it was reported that YouTube was serving more than 2 billion videos a day, which it described as nearly double the primetime audience of all 3 major US television networks combined. Just really trying to hammer home the scale that we work with. And the top 5 YouTube channels have viewerships rivaling the top 5 US cable channels. Now, some of the names that were mentioned in my introduction were, maybe some of you have heard of them, maybe you haven't, but they are mega global stars. They just haven't hit kind of the household name recognition that some of the traditional celebrities have. So let's see where we started. This is the very first video that was ever uploaded to YouTube. It's called Me at the Zoo. It has about 9 million views. That's it. And it's not a very good video, but it's a harbinger of things to come. It's a person at the zoo sharing their experience looking at an elephant. And the term vlogging didn't even exist back then, but that kind of style of sharing your experience and being having an intimate look into what people are doing during their days, talking about your days, have created these huge celebrities like Shay Carl, who arguably is a reality TV star. He uploads a video every day he's uploaded video every day for the last 2 years of him and his family. And that's it. They're 15 to 20 minute long videos of what he did that day. So this is sort of, that video is kind of what started it all. And now let's see where we are now. This is a video, sorry. Okay. This is a video that was created for our YouTube funded channel, Bamo, for a program called Sync. It's a couple minutes, so sit back.
Keep an eye out. Excuse me, sir. Hi, is this the El Doblidos? Because I asked a woman a few miles back where I could find the El Doblidos, and she told me that it's the show with the ugly fat fuck lying out front with
I hope swearing's okay.
See? I knew I had the right place. Carlos? Carlos Ruiz? Have any of you guys seen Carlos Ruiz? Do you mind if I change that? I've never been a big fan of soccer, you know?
Bueno. Está bien. Get up. Levántate.
Oh, sorry, I missed that. Let's go.
That name in a while.
Well, that's because Carlos Ruiz is dead.
Tell me, how did he die?
Officially, meth lab explosion, burned his face pretty bad, lost an eye. Wasn't too long before his men forced him into early retirement.
No go watch ceremony, I would imagine.
I would imagine not.
And unofficially?
Unofficially, I'm of the belief you can't kill true evil, although it hasn't stopped me from trying. Normally, we leave well enough alone. You know, if a few beaners want to kill themselves south of the border over Little White Rocks, we don't give a shit.
Today you give a shit.
Today, I give a big, huge shit.
And what's the catalyst for this sudden change in policy?
A girl.
There's always a reason, right?
It's a popular motive.
You have a specific one in mind?
Zoe LaPierre, daughter of Iowa Senator Troy LaPierre, 17 years young, blonde, pretty, and by popular account lacking sound judgment.
And you believe this girl is here?
I do.
Y que yo soy Carlos Ruiz.
That would explain the mask, kind of a solidarity gesture, I imagine.
I'm embarrassed.
Do you think about all the people your wife fucks because your face looks like a dried up piece of dog shit? Welcome back, Carlos.
What are you doing here?
I think you intended traffic at the LaPierre girl, and I'm here to shut you down.
Surely you must be aware of your situation.
And what situation?
Shh. You hear that?
No, sir, and my hearing is above average.
No backup unit breaking down the door. No military vehicles rushing to the rescue. No contingency plan.
I'm not quite sure I'd put it like that.
Gentlemen, there are more diplomatic solutions available.
I cannot think of nothing more diplomatic than cutting off the head of my enemy and mailing it to his government. Where should I address this package? FBI? CIA? Black Ops?
Well, I work for a more specialized division. There really isn't an address.
A loved one, perhaps?
Yes, but she wouldn't appreciate the gesture.
Was that enough evidence for you? Ruiz has the girl.
I don't think convincing us was ever the problem, but that last shell of yours could have been put to better use.
Yeah? Like what?
It was a reckless waste, Charlie.
Yeah, not really worried. Let's try this again. How many of your friends are back there, huh? 8, right? I counted 8.
Okay, I'm gonna stop it there. So that's all to show you make a couple of points. I apologize for the language, but first of all, that's a 10-minute long video, and so conventional wisdom for online video is 2 to 3 minutes. That video has well over 1 million views right now, and is part of a scripted series that we produced. It's called Sync, S-Y-N-C, if you want to go check out the rest of it and see what happens. So to show you how we came from me at the zoo to Sync, I'm going to explain a little bit about my background and it's sort of my trajectory in my career and how it's mirrored a little bit about what's gone on in online video. One of my favorite things to do is kind of watch people's expression change as they say, I don't understand, I didn't know, like, how does YouTube work? I didn't even realize that there were companies, managing YouTube talent. And I know that, I like that because I know that feeling of kind of the realization of, wow, this is something powerful. So this slide kind of goes through my introduction. So like John said, I was working in reality TV, but really where I started getting an interest in online video was when I was working at Current. It was 2007, which was a really incredible time to be at Current. We were, the company was 300 people, most of us in our early 20s. We had expense accounts. We were doing big lavish boat parties with champagne and caviar, and we were changing the world, so we thought. And really how we were changing the world was democratizing media. And we were really focusing on this term convergence. It was sort of a mantra around the halls of Current. The convergence of web to TV. And Current's version of that was you would upload a piece of content onto current.tv at the time. A team of people would watch it, would approve it if it was acceptable to go up on the website. And then if it passed that first test and it was that amazing that it went to TV, they would pay you like $700 to $1,000 to actually make it to TV. It would go through a round of editors. Maybe 3 or 4 months down the road, your piece of content would be on TV. It was very clunky, very time-intensive process. I mean, can you imagine those stats I was telling you at the beginning? That would never happen if online video went down the path of what Current was originally doing, because with 72 hours of content a minute, you can't have people watching and approving all of that. Obviously, there are processes in place to make sure that porn and stuff doesn't get uploaded to YouTube. But with Current, it was really trying to make, it was a much bigger ask than just filming something on your phone and uploading it. And we were really trying to democratize media, but that lengthy process made it so that there were still gatekeepers. Us working at Current, we were the gatekeepers. We were the ones saying yes and no to your content. And it wasn't really a democracy, and it was frustrating, and everyone was very frustrated. And quite honestly, this idea of convergence still hasn't really come to fruition, and that's another one of the challenges in online video is, as we disrupt the mechanisms by which we consume media, how do we really converge these two worlds, the cable world, the TV world, my belief is that it's going to come from some form of technology. I don't think set-top boxes are it. Tablets are getting closer, but we really haven't truly realized the full potential of what convergence, the whole theory of convergence is. That was Current. It was a great introduction to how online video is working, but nobody was watching. And I started reading a lot of articles. Well, some of the stats that I was sharing, obviously in 2007 were very different, 2008. There's all this online video being consumed, and it's not being consumed on Current, so where are all these people watching online video? And I uncovered this world of YouTube, and it blew my mind. This lovely screenshot is actually me as a zombie. And that was my first introduction to really this YouTube world. When I was working as the director of distribution for this company, we had a director come in the office and pitch us a web series idea. And he said, I'm directing this thing for this YouTube channel called The Station. You should come check it out. So I went and I wound up like being a zombie in the very first video that went on the station. And the station eventually evolved into the biggest YouTube network called Maker Studio. But there I met the biggest YouTube stars: Shane Dawson, Phil DeFranco, Kasim G, Shay Carl, all of these people. And I went back that night after cleaning all the zombie blood off my face, and I went and looked, and these guys, even in 2007, had tens of millions of views. And you know, now the biggest YouTuber has over 5 million subscribers. By the time 1 million subscribers was the biggest, and I was just blown away. And I knew immediately that this was something big and massive, and it was only going to get bigger, and I wanted in. And so I wound up becoming really good friends with the director, and he was friends with this guy named Phil DeFranco. The monkey picture is Phil's logo. At the time, Phil was the 5th most subscribed YouTuber in the world, and he had just gotten a small grant from YouTube to start another channel, and he needed a producer. And so I got hired, broke up with my boyfriend, moved out of my apartment, and changed and quit my job in 24 hours. So I was very committed to making this work, and I realized that it was going to be very time consuming. So I just needed to do this and really commit to it and really really figure it out. And so I started working for Phil. I worked in his apartment. I brought him his, venti Earl Grey tea latte with 5 Splendas in the morning, and I shot for him. I edited. And I produced one of this channel that he was starting, and it was called Like Totally Awesome, which is a great thing to have on your resume. People really take you seriously. That's why I had to start my own company. My last thing on my resume was Like Totally Awesome, but it was a very successful channel when it was up and running, and I wound up casting a couple now very big YouTubers in it, and casting specifically this one YouTuber named Tobuscus in Like Totally Awesome show, and watching his views jump from just being in the show that I was producing really lit something, it made me realize, okay, there's collaboration, there's audience development, and there's money starting to come in the space, brands are starting to get interested. This all needs to kind of come together in one collective package. And that's when I started my company. So originally my company was called The Cloud Media, and excuse me a second. And I started on my own and kind of instinctively felt my way through the initial 6 months of the company. Choosing the name, I had a CPA who helped me, get incorporated in all of this stuff. But I'm an English major, not an MBA, so it was definitely based on, I had a lot of support, a lot of people kind of helping guide me through those first 6 months. And those were really, as every company, the first couple of months are very formative. I learned a lot. We got a little office space in Venice, and I hired my first employee, and I figured out how to do payroll, and I started signing clients, and that was a really amazing feeling of kind of cold calling some of these people and saying, I know you don't know who I am, but I've done these things, and let me, trust me, and let me, let me kind of help you, and I'll show you what, I won't lock you into a long contract, and just let me show you what I can do. And for me, those first 6 months were not just about building up the business, but building up my reputation, which to me is very, very important. I'm very, very meticulous about my reputation, and I think it's important as you start your company to think about that, because it's not just about getting in there and being a bulldog and making all these tough decisions, and that's definitely an element of it, but there's another element of it that's gaining people's respect, and you just can get so much more done when you have people's respect, and that goes back to the integrity stuff that I was talking about at the beginning. It's very, for me, I get a lot of clients who tell me, I might have better offers from other networks, but I just trust you and I really like you, and I know that you've done great things with other YouTubers, and that to me feels like success. When a client wants to sign with me because they know that I'm going to take good care of them, and whether it's whether the company that you start or you work for, sells clothing or back-end software technology, always keeping that in mind I think is really, really important. So I did the cloud media for a little over a year, and I just financed it based on the commissions I was taking from brand deals. In that first year, just me alone, I did over $1 million in brand deals. So I knew that and that was all incoming calls. Sometimes I would cold call, but the majority of it was incoming calls. So I knew that I had selected an industry that was growing and growing rapidly, and I was able to kind of sustain myself and an assistant on this. But I needed to scale, and scale is something that you hear a lot once you kind of have the foundations of your company set up. And I couldn't do it alone. So I brought on a co-founder named Steve Raymond. It was a very interesting process finding a CEO and finding a co-founder. Since I had already established myself in the industry, finding a co-founder that would both respect that but also look at what I had built and know how to take it to the next level. And I was very, very fortunate to find Steve. He had come from a lot of successful startups who had great exits, and he also had most recently come from Comcast's verticalized ad network. And so for me, the version of scaling came from creating a network. What that means is that YouTube actually enables certain companies to build networks on top of their platform. And that's when I say we're one of the biggest YouTube networks, that's what that means. So bringing a co-founder on was definitely an intense experience. But because, like I said, I'm an English major, it was nice to have somebody in the room who was an MBA and understood this, and also, had gone through the startup life before. I think one of the biggest lessons, because it can be very lonely as you're starting a company, I definitely felt like I was all alone. These experiences that I had only ever happened to me, which is totally crazy and not true. And as I started talking to more and more people who had founded companies, I realized, some of the mistakes I'd made and some of the things that I had done right, a lot of people had also experienced. And one of those support systems was a startup incubator called Launchpad. And we had a really wonderful experience there. I don't know how many of you are familiar with startup incubators, but I wish I had found them earlier, because I think they would have been really helpful in the very early stages. But they were very helpful, and especially for me as my first startup, it was nice to have talks and about term sheets and kind of helping go through all of that kind of stuff. Also along with that, oh no, I'm losing my. Okay. Okay. We changed the name, and that was a really tough decision for me, because I was very emotionally attached to the name, the Cloud Media. But obviously, it comes with a set of problems. One being that the Cloud Media is people think cloud computing system, and that's not at all what we did. And so we changed it to Bigframe, and now my company is 28 employees. And we closed a round of $3 million in May, and we'll probably be going out and doing another round in January. And that's kind of the state of where we are. I think that a lot of, how I've experienced starting a company, I think, was definitely a lot of instinct. And I think that that's really helpful, no matter how much education you have. And it's very important to have people, taking classes like this, for example. But ultimately, the times that I made mistakes were the times where I didn't go with my instinct. And that's only something that you can hone. It's not something that you can learn. And also the ability to fail. I think that our generation is very, very scared of failure. I know I am. And for me, the thought of failure it was almost unbearable. But when I accepted, okay, I might fail, and that's okay, then that freed me up to actually be able to go out and take these huge risks that I took. And not, a certain amount of doubt is useful in making sure that you're not arrogant, but it's also, don't let doubt cripple you, because I've definitely seen some founders let doubt kind of cripple them, and they can't move forward because they're, am I doing that? You will fail if you doubt so much that you paralyze yourself. So just know that, the worst thing, I would wake up in the morning and say, okay, the worst thing that can happen is I close my company down. But you know what? I started a company and I did that, and I did that on my own. It was something that I owned, I controlled, and I did, and that's already a measure of success. I think another really important piece of advice that I got was setting goals. I know that sounds really easy and kind of lame, but if you know what you want and you give yourself attainable goals that are short term. So I would say, when I first started, okay, I'm going to give myself 6 months to keep this business going. I want to hire somebody in 3 months. I want to get incorporated in 4 months. I want to have payroll set up in 5 months. And then, you give yourself, okay, I can move forward. I did that. Okay, what is my next goal? Also, obviously knowing what the ultimate goal is, whether you want your company to be purchased, whether you want to have such a big company that you're the company doing the purchasing, that's also useful, but that can change. Giving yourselves very, very distinct set goals that are month to month or maybe 6 months in the future helps you kind of get up in the morning and know, this is what I'm doing, this is exactly what I'm going to do with my day. Also, keep a journal. I know that sounds kind of weird, but I definitely wrote down a lot of my experiences right at the beginning, and most of them were like the low lows, but it's also good to talk about the high highs because I go back and I read those. I'm like, oh yes, I remember when I was in that place and it seemed really bad, and now I'm here and it feels really good. And in the beginning, the mistakes can feel catastrophic, but being able to look back and reflect is really a useful tool to have. Also, when you become super, super successful and you want to write your book, it's helpful to have it all written down. And then, balance. I think that, it is a lot of work to start a company or to work at a startup, even if it's not your own company. But keeping a balance, sometimes I'll take meetings with people and I'll tell them, let's go for a hike instead of meet at a coffee shop because, I need some exercise. I haven't been out of the house in a week, or, things like that. And remember that, starting a company is more of a lifestyle. It's not a job. It is your life. But if it's something that you love to do, it won't feel like that. And you can get up in the morning. I do 14, 16-hour days, but I have been able to get balance in my life, and it helps you also, in running the company and keeping sane, as it were. So that's my story. I don't know if you guys want to, I have one more video that I want to share. So why don't we watch that? It's a Mr. Guitar Man video since he's here.
This is the one. You guys ready?
And then you guys can ask questions.
38. 3, 2, 1, go.
fake.
Now we know whose is whose. Is it Ryan?
Some of the mistakes.
That was freaking awesome, as he yells into the mic. All right, so since we are videotaping the Q&A as well, please grab a mic for your question. Who has the first question?
Close this.
So you said that, your a lot of your corporate sponsorship initially came from people calling you.
Yeah.
And I was just wondering how they found you in the first place.
Yeah, that's a great question. So initially, a lot of it was brands writing into the people's YouTube channels. And eventually, when I started signing clients, I had them put my email, or I created a business email and put it up on their YouTube channel. You know, it's pretty easy to find people these days. So, and once I got a nice rapport, so I got, you know, Sony was our first big sponsor at Sony Electronics. We did, I think, 18 videos with them. Most of them lived on their site, but and then we actually did a national commercial for Coke and McDonald's right off the bat. And so when those kind of started coming up and other agencies started seeing, okay, this is something that we should be paying attention to, they would try to find, you know, my clients through their YouTube channels. Now I have a 3-person ad sales team, and they're doing a lot of they do a lot of outreach, and then people just know Bigframe now, and that's a really good feeling. So I go and speak on tons of panels, and I have my ad sales people speak on panels, and we have a PR firm who gets us an ad age in all these places that the you know, the advertisers are reading. But yeah, at the beginning it was very like, sometimes they would send us like tweets. Like, literally have done brand deals based on tweets from a brand. So a lot of different ways, and they, you know, the brands really like working with the YouTube talent because of influence, and that's something that I didn't talk a lot about, but something that we talk a lot about at Bigframe, which is the power of influence. You know, Joe, Mr. Tarman sitting in the back, who made that video that has over 2 million views, will tweet out something like, "Hi, smiley face," and get hundreds of responses. And I think that's really powerful. Or like we were speaking last week, and he had, you know, he said, write a haiku with these 3 words, and by the end of the talk you had like 1,000 responses in an hour. And so it's that's the power of really being able to talk directly to your audience. A lot of people will make videos, you know, Joe, a lot of his videos at the end, he'll talk to his audience and have them interact, and through that they gain trust and gain influence. So obviously for a brand, being able to influence an audience is an interesting proposition. So we've done a lot of those. Yeah.
Hello?
Hi.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
I read an article prior to class about you, and you quoted something along the lines that it's difficult for you at times because you're a woman. I just wanted you to elaborate on that, the struggles you go through as a woman in the business that you do, especially what's the biggest struggle and how you overcame that, and any advice to us women in this room.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, it is still a struggle. The entertainment industry is very male-dominated, and especially as a young woman, it's, you know, sometimes it's hard to be taken seriously. I think that's my biggest thing, is being taken seriously. I basically invented a job that people didn't understand and didn't know existed. I was, you know, a young woman going into these huge companies, and they weren't used to seeing that, and I wasn't taken seriously. And I think that is a big struggle. And I think for all the women, it's really about knowing exactly your goal in those meetings. So sometimes I would, you know, I've been called honey, I've been called kiddo, I've been called crazy little girl, you know, and like really offensive stuff, and kind of knowing how to react to that, because it hopefully it won't happen, but it does happen. So, you know, I also it does help that my co-founder is a 40-something-year-old man, because I do bring him to some meetings, and it's just the reality of where we are right now. And he helps me close deals sometimes, and you just have to. It's not okay, but it's you have to know how to work within that system. Conversely, I will say though that. People are generally, and this goes for everyone who's a young founder, people are very impressed by young people doing big things. And I've had a lot of doors open to me because of that. There's also a great community of female entrepreneurs in LA, and I've made a ton of really amazing friends and supporters, and I've hired people out of these groups. So it's not all, oh, you're a young girl, you're not taken seriously, and it's a struggle. There are definitely struggles, but there's also great opportunities, and I get to go and do really cool things because I'm a young female entrepreneur. So go and find those, and just be just be kick-ass, and people will appreciate it.
Being an English major, what sort of things that you learned in your English courses were you able to apply to the business and entrepreneurial world?
Yeah, so I was an English major and an anthropology minor, and I actually really appreciate it because I think the anthropology stuff helped me, be able to relate to people. When I was in my anthropology classes, we had to, learn how to interview someone, which I wasn't always very good at, and we had to publicly do a lot of public speaking, which I didn't always love, and now I really like. And in terms of the English major, I think it's just a mindset of, you can be much more analytical, very creative. I think English majors tend to perceive the world in a certain way, and I really liked that. And I also think that it didn't limit me. I think when you have a very specific major like film, and not to say that that's not a good major, but I think if I had been a film major, I would have been limited to thinking like, oh, I have to go into film and TV. And so I'm glad that I had this, just overarching education that allowed me to be creative and kind of come up with my own thing.
How dependent are you on Google and YouTube, and how does that affect your business?
That's a great question. At the moment, I'm extremely dependent on them. My business is very, very closely tied to YouTube. I talk to them at least once a week. All of my content creators right now are YouTube content creators. However, we are expanding out of that because, to be tied to just one platform as a business is a very uncomfortable position to be in. So that is one of the hurdles of not just my company, but all of the YouTube networks. On the other hand, they support us, by financing content. They're building a really amazing space in Playa Vista that we're going to have access to. That's a production facility. So there are definite benefits to being that closely tied to YouTube. But it is, it is a very, very close relationship.
Do you think Google's plans for expansion into the television market will ever overtake the cable television companies?
I can't speak for Google. Another reason being tied to them very closely. But I think, I think that there's always going to be an appetite for people to want to watch shows like Mad Men and Homeland and Game of Thrones. I know that I actually have watched probably more TV. I don't have cable, but I have probably watched more TV shows than I used to starting my company. But I think it's more about the ways in which we consume media. And I think that when YouTube and Google or somebody figures out how someone can tune into the Bigframe network or the Maker Studios network, then we're going to have the ability to actually, it's going to start looking more and more like cable. Right now, Google TV is and Apple TV and these kinds of things, they're interesting. But I don't know about you guys, but I don't even have cable. I have 5 remote controls. I have a PS3, an Xbox, an Apple TV, and I just want to pull my hair out. I'm like, can we all be in one? I have a laptop, we have iPads, Kindles, like, oh my God, it just makes you want to pull your hair out. Like, why can't we get one thing like this size where I can tune into the Bigframe network, and that's my vision. I want that to happen. Yeah. But I mean, people are consuming more online video than ever before, and I think especially as our generation and younger grows up, it's gonna, we're definitely gonna, people are gonna be watching TV less, or in a different way, I guess.
So right now the current YouTube demographic is pretty young.
Yeah.
So does your company have plans to maybe reach other demographics, like particularly older age groups?
Yeah, that's another great question. There are some YouTube channels out there that are cooking, travel, mom content, and they haven't reached kind of the mega global scale that someone like a Mystery Guitar Man or Sync or Daystorm reach, because a couple of reasons. One, YouTube is very much geared towards a younger demographic. And also because YouTube right now is very much a cult of personality, where I am a huge Game of Thrones fan, I am also a Mystery Guitar Man fan. So on YouTube, when we start these channels that are not personality based, it takes a little time for people to build up brand loyalty to them. And some of these channels geared towards an older audience are not as personality based as the ones that are hugely popular. But I do think that will change. We have a travel channel, for example, that's really high-end, really well-produced. Her viewers are very, very highly engaged, and she can drive what little traffic she has in a lot of different ways. But you just have to kind of shift your expectations if you're starting a channel like that. For us personally, it's not a huge play, the older demographic, even though advertisers do seek it out. As the industry shifts, we'll shift along with it, and we'll adjust. If suddenly, 45-year-old women become the biggest demographic, we'll adjust to that strategy. But right now, what you saw from Sync, our BAMO channel, which is our one owned and operated channel, that's the kind of content that kids are watching. And I apologize about the language. I know your son is here. So inappropriate. I'm so sorry.
He's never heard those words.
Okay, great. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Sarah, I have a question.
Yeah.
Ill-formed as it might be, I'm not sure how intimate all the students would be about the power of the network. I know one thing that really excited me about Bigframe early on was that you were bringing folks that had kind of risen up on their own, but they got to a certain level. You were able to bring cross-promote, bring them together. But then probably as important or more importantly, you were able to tell a brand, now you can sell you're not buying a personality, you're buying across a network.
Yeah, absolutely. So we call it the circle of influence, and we've done this with a lot of different brands. We are able, because we have such a robust analytics available to us from YouTube analytics, we're able to really target specific geographical locations, age, male, female, and we can say to a brand, so I'll give you a specific example. We did a deal for BBC America. They were relaunching Planet Earth, and they wanted to promote it on Earth Day. So we did 4 branded videos for them, and then we cut one of those down into a 30-second pre-roll, and we sold that 30-second pre-roll across our network. And so we targeted the exact demographic that they were looking for. We used an influencer in the pre-roll ad, which is the little ad that plays before the video, so that people were more likely to watch it because it's somebody that they like. And we were able to, and then we also paid about 50 of our influencers to tweet and favorite and Facebook about the actual videos to drive traffic. And so it was a really, really nice integrated campaign where we could, we could tap into that power of 150 million video views a month, and millions of Twitter and Facebook followers, and give the brand the awareness that they were looking for that particular campaign. They wanted people to watch it to drive tune in. We also did this with a movie called Chronicle for Fox, and we activated our circle of influence, and that movie that they really only did online marketing for, a little bit of billboards and stuff, opened at #1 against anyone's expectations, and we were written up in Deadline Hollywood as the reason for it opening so big. So it really shows kind of the power of once you have this network of engaged audience, what you can do with it. And the collaboration, I mean, that's something that I can't stress enough. What we do is help, even some of our huge channels, we have them collaborate with other people to bring in new audiences.
Hi. I know in the beginning when you were starting your company, you said you faced a lot of challenges with the business side of things.
Yeah.
If you were to take things back, is there something you would do to educate yourself beforehand, or how would you better do that if you were to take it back?
Yeah, I mean, it's a hard question because I really like where we are now, and I feel like if I were to have taken the time to really educate myself on exactly what needed to be done, I would have been too far behind to do what I did now, or to be where I am now. That being said, it did cause some stress for me, quite a bit of stress for me, because having to figure all of this stuff out on my own while I'm still trying to build a business it takes a lot of time and a lot of stress, and I was really alone. I didn't have a co-founder for a year. I had an assistant. Who knew way less than I did. So it was, I mean, I think it would have been nice, but I think had I taken the time to really, okay, I'm gonna, write out the perfect business plan, I'm gonna be very meticulous about it, I probably would be too far behind, because the space moves so fast. That being said, if you're in an industry that is a little more established and doesn't move as fast as this one, definitely take the time to learn what you need to learn. I was very fortunate in having some very good instincts. Early on, I remember I got a call or an email from this guy. I honestly don't know how he found me, but he was like, I'm gonna give you $100,000 for 25% of your company. And I was like, $100,000 would be nice right now, but 25, I watch enough Shark Tank to know watch Shark Tank, it's great. I made some fortunate, I had some instinct there, but I think I wouldn't have even returned his call had I had I been better informed.